I remember I was maybe 6 or 7. He would just come and visit us. I never really understand why he wouldn't, live with
Okay.
us. Not until in college, I found out that we were the first family. Like, we were the second family. That's why he doesn't come home.
So the last episode, we talked about your past. I want to talk about what really shifted in you when you moved to America, right? You were telling us you left Philippines at 19, you moved to LA for work.
Yeah.
So why did you leave Philippines?
So I think, first of all, because I was born and raised in Philippines, my mom and my dad is separated. So we found out that
So you grew up with,
my
mom
mom's side
in Philippines.
side of the family. Yeah.
so you
And
never saw your dad?
I never saw my dad until I think I was 8. He visited.
He's not in Philippines.
Yes, he wasn't. So he's all. That's why when I said in the last episode that it was very complicated because my dad didn't live with us. I remember I was maybe 6 or 7. He would just come and visit us. But I never really understand why he wouldn't, live with
Okay.
us. Not until in college, I found out that we were the first family. Like, we were the second family. That's why he doesn't come home to us.
So who told you?
So it was
Yeah.
my mom. I was already in college back then that he said that. I think that was also the time when my dad was starting to tell my mom that there's a possibility of us as sisters to go to the US because he would petition us. So that's kind of like where it started. And so when my dad said, "Okay, do you guys want to come to America?" So of course, not my mom, just us sisters. I was the only one who was eligible to migrate to the US. And so when I migrated to the US, during that time, my we're okay now. The first family, my
So-
stepsisters.
So when you made that move, your mom told you, "Oh, by the way, Jay, we are the second family."
Well, pretty much. Maybe she told me maybe a few months back because that was in college. I was about to graduate during that time. So yeah,
So
pretty
was it
much.
shocking?
Yes. Everything like that I was, wondering about, oh, how come I don't see my dad? Oh, maybe he's busy.
But your mom would tell you that your dad is
working.
working.
Working, yeah. And that's when all the pieces of the puzzles, started to come together. But then during that time, I thought to myself, now looking back, I saw the move as an opportunity to start a new life for me. Because, Philippines, there's a lot of pain that I went through. Looking back, I felt like that was a time or an opportunity for me to run away from my pain, in a sense, forget about, because during that time, no one knew still. Yeah. I was still in Philippines. No one knew that I was struggling with it. And so moving to America, my goal was to forget the past, start
To
a
have a
new
bright
life,
future
bright future,
in
American
America?
yes, American dream, and
you went to
provide.
LA?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, provide
Did you
for my
wanted
family.
to sing, act, those kind of
No,
stuff?
actually, no. My goal was to make money.
Okay.
And
And maybe find an American husband, get married,
yes,
settle
yes,
down.
and really provide and eventually bring my whole family, my mom, my sisters, to America. So that was the main goal during that time. So, but then God changed my direction. That's when I started healing from my past, not knowing God will bring me back.
But when you went to America, you also had the responsibility of providing
Yes.
for your family back home in the Philippines? Because
Yes.
I think that's a norm.
Yep.
The family member that moves overseas usually would send money back
Yes.
for expenses and everything.
Yes.
So that was
School.
your responsibility?
Yes. So I would send money for my family here. And my sister, my youngest sister, was in high school at that time, Christian school. And I would send money for her schooling and my mom's,
So you
expenses.
was studying in America, working.
I was working.
You were
already
working, and you were
yeah.
sending money back.
Money.
And that's where you found a
Yes.
community at church, and you met Nolan. That path felt like a dream come true because
Yeah.
you did meet a boyfriend.
Yes.
And an American
Actually,
husband.
Nolan, I already knew as a friend back in Philippines.
Okay.
So we knew, we were acquaintance, and then everything kind of like, we started liking each other and all of that. It was in America that we actually got together and dated. And so I thought, wow, okay, everything's going well.
I'm going to live in America.
Yes,
and
for
have
the rest
American
of my
kids.
life. Yeah. So that was the plan. But then, I started to notice that God has a different plan for my husband, soon to be.
Notice. What do you mean?
Notice. Because he would share with me that he has a heart for Philippines, and
But you didn't want to go back.
I didn't want to go. I would say to myself, maybe he's too young. Maybe it's just whims, like they'll probably go away. He's just, maybe, yeah. So whenever he starts a conversation of, one of these days, I want to pastor or plant a church in Philippines, I would say, I just listen and then nod. But deep inside, I would just say, no, no way. That's not going to happen. But what I love about him, though, he didn't really force it on me. He would just share. Like innocently share. And he never mentioned that you should, start packing up your bags and, start going, we're going to go back no matter what. But
life was good.
Yes, life was good. So I just, maybe it's just, it's not going to happen anyways. But then, long story short, God has been, changing my heart. First, the healing. And then I started feeling kind of like a heart for Philippines. Like I would, in a sense, think like, why would you send me back to Philippines? What's the point? Like I would feel like God was saying, you're running away from your pain. I know you don't want Philippines because you've gone through so many stuff, but I am calling you back there, even if Nolan wasn't gonna be your, husband. Yeah, because we were engaged already at that time. And so during a conference, Passion Conference in LA, it was Francis Chan. I could remember Francis Chan speaking at that time. And I forgot about the main sermon that he was saying, but then I remember in my head, I was like, what's the point? Why would you want me to go back, God? And then he would say something like, God will provide for you. It was like answering just the questions in my head. And
but back then you were providing for your family.
Yes.
So God would provide for you so that you could move back to Philippines.
Yes.
And be a provider for everybody else too, right?
Yes. So I was like, wait, I cannot go back because that my family needs me. But then God would say, no, I will provide for you, but I love your family more than you do. So I will provide for them. And so I was like bawling. And then Nolan looked at me. This is my side of the story because Nolan would have a different side.
One day I'll get him on this podcast.
So he looked at me and he said, he just said, he told you, huh? And then I was like, ooh, like a little kid,
How do you hear from God? I think this is a question people will ask, like, how do you know it is God talking?
Yeah. Well, at that time, that moment was actually kind of like the end part of it. God has been talking to me
How?
through, I guess, where your heart aches, I guess, where your tears, in a sense, are kind of like flow. Because I would pray to God, and it's not an audible voice, but it's this still small voice that I was wrestling with Him. Why? I always ask the question, why? And then I started tearing up a bit because He would say that, I love the Philippines. You are a Filipino.
Did you tell God, God, maybe somebody else?
Yes,
God,
yes,
maybe
exactly.
somebody
Yes,
else.
I
I just
have so
moved over.
many, yep, bargains. I was like, I would, maybe be a funder for someone else to plant a church in the Philippines, but not me. So I started have that, heart to heart conversations with God. It's not a big audible voice like, this is what you need to do. It's just like what you shared a while ago when we were talking at the coffee shop. It's like this slow process of God just showing you little by little, what breaks His heart. And you also start, to have that breaking as well. So,
I had a
yeah.
different story. So my side of the story is I knew I was going to marry a pastor. So I don't even know whether I asked God for a sign or a word or God speak to me or whatever it is. I just decided in my heart, I'm going to marry this person. I'm going to go for it. Right? So I have a different story from yours. My husband is in the studio too. I think he's beaming with joy. But hence the question I asked, like, how do you know it is God? For me, it was that moment of decision to know what's a greater purpose.
That's
Right?
good. Yeah.
I'm someone who's very career driven, motivated, but to do something with God, building a church together with my husband was unthinkable. It's a good thing I was young.
Yeah.
I didn't overthink. I just went with that moment of decision to get married, be planted in the church,
Wow.
grow the church, serve in the church, do the work together with my husband. So we have very
Yeah.
different paths, but it led to doing church work. So for you, you heard from God, so you answered the call.
Yes.
Hence, you moved back to the Philippines. So how do you know you are living out that
Calling. Yeah.
or that purpose that God has spoken to you
Yeah.
about? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know?
Yeah. I
Were
mean,
you happy?
for a little bit. And then I started getting bitter.
Because?
In a sense, like, you know how sometimes when God like brings you to a situation, because I see it like this: calling is not like a big thing that God placed on your lap. This is your calling,
Yep.
or like a treasure chest. Like, okay, this
Like,
is the
and-
X.
yeah.
Yeah, like that.
And everybody, when they graduate from university, always have this question: what should I do?
Yes.
Right? Am I supposed to do this, do that? So essentially, we are searching out our meaning, our purpose, or a Christian term would be calling.
Yes.
Right? Because not all of us are called to serve at
Yes.
a full-time capacity. So for you, you got bitter because
Because during that time, I thought, okay, God, you called me to be here in Philippines, and I'm here. How come everything is hard? Because we sometimes think that when you answer the call, everything has to be perfect, But I don't see it that way. Now, looking back, looking at myself now, that I feel like calling is like a door. And then God shows you this big, in a sense, kind of like a garden. Yeah. And you get to have the choice to cultivate different, areas in that garden. In a sense, like I was just looking at church planting, and my definition of success should be there should have a lot of people coming to our church already, but it's not happening. So I got bitter. It's like, I thought you, but then I realized God is saying, well, this is your ministry right now, your kids? Like at that time, I was, I had a toddler. So I was bitter because Nolan was the one who was working full time at the church. And I have to also be at home with my kids. And so all of those,
Yeah.
things. So I started saying, God, so you asked me to go back to Philippines. I know this is like so bad,
To be a
but to be a
housewife.
housewife, like
I was just going to say that, to be a housewife.
yeah. So I was bitter, like so.
But you
this
could work, right? You could help out with the church.
Yes, I could help out with the church, but there's only so much I could do because Josiah was so small at that time that I was part of the worship team. I built, in a sense, like the team, but then I couldn't be there all the time, just like Nolan to like pastor or meet up with people late at night, like hang out with them because I have to be at home with Josiah. And Philippines is not very,
So
kid
you became a
friendly.
pastor's wife, then you became a mom, and you moved back to the Philippines, and then now you have to take care of a church. You have to serve your husband. You have to serve your family because now you're home with your own family.
Yes.
So along the way, did you lose yourself?
Yes, I would say yes. Yeah.
In what ways?
Because I was so focused on my idea of what success looked like,
What did
of
it look like?
fulfilling the calling, like have
What did that calling look like when you felt God told you, yeah, move back to Philippines? So
I
in
was
your mind, you had a picture. What was that?
yes, I was picturing we have a venue, thousands of people already coming and like doing ministry with my husband full time, but I was stuck at home. Like that was like my thing. It's like this is unfair. So yeah.
So now that your kids are grown up, I've just met them. They are independent
Yes.
teenagers. So what now? Now
Yeah.
you have the freedom, the time. Who have you become in that process?
I think so that bitterness started in a sense like God had to deal with that, because I later on in that journey of bitterness, like I discovered that, because of now again going back to my childhood trauma, like I developed in a sense this false sense of like security when it comes to success, like external success. So I was diagnosed with depression during that time. Besides postpartum depression, because and I gave birth to Josiah, and it continued on. I also struggled. I found out, was diagnosed by my psychiatrist that I have, in a sense, what do you call it, serotonin imbalance, like an imbalance. And so I had to go all of those, medications and all of that stuff. But then I realized God had to use those moments to remind me that my calling is not just the church, that my calling is where I'm needed. So during that time, I'm needed to be a mom. So when that happened, when I started realizing that, that's when I became a happy mom. I'm no longer the bitter, like I'm always angry with Josiah during that time. Like I feel like I'm blaming him because I'm stuck at home. But then when I realized that, where you're needed, that's your calling right now. I started, loving motherhood.
Yep.
And I actually ventured out homeschooling. And I'm loving it, It has challenges.
I still can't imagine how you could homeschool your
Yeah.
kids.
To a person who wants to get out of the house, now to a mom who said yes to homeschooling your kid. That's like a completely different person. So yeah.
As you were talking, it reminded me a story when I was a young mom like you. I guess every young mom gets resentful
I
over little things, right? So for
Yeah.
me, it was the fact that my husband was always traveling
Oh
away
yeah,
on
that one too.
trips. So I have no help I would be alone with my child. So sometimes I start to create this conclusion in my head that I think my husband got me pregnant and then I gave birth to this son so that now I have a new companion in my life so that he can go off and live his life and I'm stuck here at home. So that was how resentful I was as a young mom. And I had to overcome that.
Yeah.
So things evolve, of course. Like what you said, I think it's beautiful. You know where you are needed. In those years, it was motherhood for us. But now your kids are grown up, my kids are grown up. They don't really need us 24/7. They don't even want us in their room.
Yeah, exactly.
When I step into my son's room, he would stare at me. In his mind, he's thinking, what are you
What are
doing
you
here?
doing?
And I am there trying to chit-chat with him. So it's a different season again for us. It's to now continue on this journey in discovering what's next for us. A lot of listeners out there are wondering their next step too. What's next? It's in our human mind to want more, to want progress, to want growth, but that feels scary. And we had this conversation just before this podcast. You were asking me, how do I navigate that?
Yeah.
It's not easy, but if we don't allow ourselves to just settle and just be complacent with where we're at and keep learning, right? I always believe in learning and just doing something. You might not know the next 10 years or the next 5 years, but at least for the next day, what is one new thing you want to do?
That's good.
What is one new skill you want to learn? What is one new talk you want to listen to? Do that first step well and you keep doing it.
That's really good.
You will find your path. I never imagined I would talk on a podcast. But when I started my Instagram account during the pandemic, I was forced to create content on videos. And that was a scary moment for me because every 20 second or 30 seconds of talking on the video, it takes me maybe an hour to 2 hours after 50 takes to create that 1 20-second video. And I almost threw my phone. I got so crazy over it. But again, it's just doing that one thing again and again and again. And I believe God is not done with you. All right. The next phase of what you want to do, now that the kids are grown up, church has grown, your marriage has grown, you have grown. What do you think is the next thing for you?
We were talking a while ago. Yeah. So I think just with that small conversation, I realized how it's important to have a community. Like if I didn't talk,
Community is your thing.
yes.
I hear you talk about it a lot.
If I didn't talk to you a while ago, my answer would be different, probably. But because of just that small conversation at the coffee shop before this podcast, I kind of had a little bit of clarity of what I would do next. Because honestly, I don't know what to do next. But when you share that, take risk. So for me, create a community that you can listen to and gain some ideas on what to do. It doesn't have to be, in a sense, a copy of their own, pathway. But in a sense, just with that small conversation, 30-minute, I don't know, even 15-minute conversation that we had a while ago, you kind of gave me an idea of what to do next, which is, because right now I'm studying, and you kind of gave me an idea of, maybe creating a curriculum, or maybe, do something, try and do something. I think that's actually from you. So my advice would be try and then do something about it.
I was listening to you talk about how you overthink on what you want to do next.
Yes, that's me.
This was something I went through maybe 4 or 5 years ago, just overthinking, who am I? What do I want to do? What is my purpose? Just rethinking life. And actually, it was somebody else who told me,
wow.
You know what, Esther, just do it.
Wow.
Right? Just use what you have. Nothing is wasted. Just start something, do something, start posting something.
Wow.
Start using your voice to share something. And it has gotten me to where I am today. So I resonate with you. I always appreciate that someone who is gone before me, who can just tell me, you don't have to be afraid.
That's right.
It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Just keep going. That is what this podcast is all about, sharing each other's side of the story, because you never know. Somebody listening to us could be maybe just a couple of years behind where we've gone.
Yeah.
And they would listen to your story and know, hey, I'm not alone in this. I could learn how to trust in God, trust in the process, trust in the little things to take me to where I'm meant to go.
That's so good, Esther.
So thank you for taking your time
Thank
out.
you so much.
I know your family is shopping somewhere, and we would love to get you on a podcast again when you're back
Thank you,
here
Esther.
with us. If you've liked this content, please share, subscribe, and share with your friends. You never know. Maybe someone out there would want to know what's my calling in life. See you in the next episode. I invited my boyfriend then, who is now my husband, to my house for dinner.
Yeah.
When he came for dinner, he tasted everything, and then he secretly asked me, did your mom forget to put salt in the chicken? How come it has no taste?